coming to you from the Hudson Media Group studio. This is Talking Politics, and I am New Jersey's premier award-winning journalist, top 100 Latino via the Latino Spirit online magazine for 2020, 2021, and certainly in 2022, as well as being the weapon of mass disruption in Garden State media, and without a doubt, the people's choice and the people's voice, Fernando Uribe. Ladies and gentlemen, again, as we're closing out the month of April, hope you're all doing well. As usual, there's a lot to discuss, so let's get started. Here's what I'm thinking about right now. And of course, ladies and gentlemen, it is election season, and certainly we are seeing candidates announce their candidacy both on the Republican and Democratic side for president. But you know what? I'm going to take a little bit more of a subdued and calmer approach to talking about the 2024 presidential election. And of course, while we still don't have all the established candidates per se, we know that President Biden this week announced his candidacy, as well as the son of former presidential candidate and former Attorney General Robert Kennedy Jr. has also announced his bid to primary the president. And of course, on the Republican side, the 45th president has announced his candidacy in addition to former South Carolina Governor Nikki Haley, and I'm sure that others will jump in eventually. But let's stick to why President Biden does not deserve another 4 years. Now, of course, I could get all emotional like many on the left do, not just in New Jersey, but of course throughout the country. And it's easy to sort of go for the low-hanging fruit and say, listen, you have to be a special kind of stupid, and you have to be really dedicated to your stupidity to even think that the president deserves another 4 years, another 4 months, another 4 hours, even another 4 minutes. But I'm not going to go that route, okay, because it just seems too easy. I'm going to go the academic route, and I'm going to appeal to your intellect, ladies and gentlemen, and I'm going to appeal to your logic, because my argument as to why Joe Biden does not deserve re-election is very simply a very logical one, and it's not emotional. Of course, you know, when we talk about who potentially could be his opponent, whether it's former President Trump or anybody else, maybe Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, U.S. Senators Ted Cruz, Marco Rubio, or Rand Paul. Again, they have not announced, but there's a good chance that they will. Or even former New Jersey Governor and fellow member of Cowboys Nation, Chris Christie. Yes, there's a lot of names that are going into this hat. But without a doubt, folks, I have to tell you that whoever the Republican challenger is, I think he or she is going to have a pretty easy time. And I'll tell you why. And let me preface this by saying that what came across my desk over the weekend was a very interesting column written by the owner and editor of the Hudson County TV page, of course, and that's Julio Reynoso. Let me preface this by saying Julio and I worked many, many years ago. Actually, Julio gave me my first break in Hudson County media, working at the time for Hudson County TV with my own show, and subsequently I've moved on to other projects, and certainly I've succeeded without a doubt. But I'm always going to hold a special place in my professional heart for Julio Reynoso. Again, giving me that shot when maybe nobody else would. And certainly, you know what? It's great to see Hudson County TV / Hudson TV still thriving. But this column from Julio, I have to tell you, really caught my attention because, again, it was very well written and it really hits home on a lot of different points about where you stand on the current president. Okay, and of course, the president does have an uphill battle. Now, Julio writes for Hudson TV, as President Joe Biden announced his 2024 re-election bid, he faces a challenging path to regain the trust of the majority of the American people. With the United States currently confronting a multitude of economic, political, and social issues, President Biden must demonstrate his ability to address these concerns effectively. And he does a very good job here in this column when it comes to itemizing exactly what's going wrong in the country as a result of Joe Biden's lack of leadership. Number one, there's a divided country. The ongoing political polarization in the United States has made it difficult for any leader to unite the nation. President Biden must find a way to bridge the gap between opposing ideologies and bring people together to foster constructive dialogue and cooperation. Julio's right on that. The problem is that this president isn't very good at uniting the country. And for a guy that ran from his basement back in the summer and fall of 2020, right, and talking maybe in gymnasiums to no more than, 25 people. And folks, don't blame it on COVID. A lot of people won't go into his rallies to begin with. But again, you know, this is a guy who ran, especially on his social media, that he would unite the country. We've had 4 years of a divider-in-chief and that he wouldn't pursue that avenue. Well, he has. He hasn't done anything to unite the country. If anything, he's fallen deeper into the rabbit hole by acquiescing to all the woke nonsense that his administration has come to symbolize, right? Whether it's making sure that there's a lesbian in every cabinet position, that the LGBTQ plus minus community is always represented at every turn in the White House, not drilling domestically, and other bad domestic and even foreign policies, which we'll get to in a moment. I think the president has done an awful job of uniting the country behind a single specific ideology. In addition, Julio writes about the reality of high inflation. The soaring inflation rate has hit Americans' wallets very hard, which is true. And again, ladies and gentlemen, kitchen table issues normally dominate any election, whether it's at the local level, state level, or at the federal level. Eroding purchasing power and increasing the cost of living. To regain trust, Biden must present and implement a comprehensive plan to tackle inflation and stabilize the economy. He hasn't done that. Again, the president wants to sort of go on this tangent about, this is the most amount of jobs created out of any president in recent history. Folks, this is the problem. When he and other Democrats shut the economy down during this fall of 2020, and of course continuing to sort of the spring of 2021 when Joe Biden took office, the fact that people were let go because of obviously the reality of working remotely, getting people back to work in their physical offices, that's not creating new jobs. And unfortunately, many on the left love to live and die on that premise, but that's just not the case. You don't need a business degree, or you don't need a PhD from Harvard Business School or from the University of Pennsylvania, okay, or any other Ivy League school that has, very reputable business programs to understand that, hey, when you're getting people back into the workforce to jobs that they lost already, that's not creating new jobs. You're just sort of refilling the jobs that were there to begin with. So let's take it easy now with talking about the economic prowess of this president. In addition, Julio writes about the weakening dollar. Also true. The declining value of the U.S. dollar on the global stage has raised concerns about this country's economic stability. Biden must take steps to strengthen the dollar and restore confidence in the United States as a financial leader. Well, obviously, that's not happening, folks. We're seeing the U.S. dollar losing value by the minute here, whether it's countries sort of going into negotiations with themselves about maybe replacing the dollar with some other form of currency. Seems like, Joe Biden is clueless on this, and he'll continue to do so. The war in Ukraine. This is a very big one for me. The U.S. has committed billions of dollars in support for the conflict in Ukraine, wrongfully so, which has led to questions about the country's priorities and resources. That's also true. Biden must ensure transparency in foreign policy decisions and demonstrate how his support aligns with the nation's best interest. It doesn't, folks. And I've said this from the very, very beginning, okay? This is not our fight. Whatever Vladimir Putin wants to do with Ukraine, go ahead. He could turn it into a parking lot for all I care. And I know that may not sound nice to people, but I'm not here to sound nice. I'm here to not hold your hand, but lead you to at least better drinking water intellectually. Okay? We are sending billions of dollars to a corrupt regime. And we all know about President Zelensky, folks. We learned about it during the BS impeachment trials of the former president in 2018 and 19. Folks, again, it's probably the biggest money laundering scam we could ever think of on a global level. And that's what Zelensky's doing over there in Ukraine. Now, again, you might say, well, Fernando, having, allies with us against Russia. Folks, Russia is no more a threat to any country than the New York Mets are in winning a World Series. Okay? If anything, China's more of a threat, both financially, militarily, everything. Okay? While here, we're trying to figure out what gender our kids should be learning about at the age of 7. Yeah, Chinese kids over there in school, they're learning about physics. They're learning about biology. And ironically, here in the United States, they can't even teach biology correctly. But China's the real superpower, not Russia. But of course, Democrats and especially Joe Biden are all up in arms about, oh my God, this could be a serious geopolitical threat. Isn't it funny, though? For decades, Democrats accused Republicans at the national level of being warmongers and, neocons and always wanting war and that war is profitable. Well, guess what? I don't see too many Republicans, even the former president of the United States, even advocate for a war in Ukraine against Russia. That's their problem, okay? Instead of taking all these billions of dollars and sending it overseas to Ukraine, why don't we just keep them here? Why don't we help our seniors? Why don't we help to create, maybe universal daycare programs, or maybe invest more money into fixing our infrastructure, to fixing our power grids, to maybe creating more Wi-Fi opportunities in our cities. That's what matters to me. I don't care about Ukraine. I like Ukrainian women, don't get me wrong. I've dated a few. And, listen, they're hot as hell. But again, folks, in the big picture, I don't care about Ukraine. I don't care about it. I'll say it, and I'll die in hell on that. We as a country need to invest our dollars and our foreign policy in things that matter to us. Okay? That's Europe's problem. Let Poland, France, Germany, England, Italy, okay, let NATO, Okay? The North Atlantic Treaty Organization. Let those countries deal with this problem between Russia and Ukraine. It shouldn't involve us. It shouldn't involve our tax dollars. And God forbid, folks, we have to start sending troops over there to help Ukrainian forces. That's going to, I would argue, create a tremendous divide, because we all know about sending our boys and girls over to war in countries that we shouldn't have been in. We learned that 20 years ago. I don't think it's a lesson we need to revisit. So again, as far as Vladimir Putin's concerned, he could turn that whole country into a parking lot for all I care, and I will sleep just as well as night, because you know what? That's not, at least to me, the biggest priority as Americans. For example, the nationwide crime surge also. With crime rates spiking across the country, folks, just look across the river in New York. We have an incompetent district attorney in Alvin Bragg that would prefer to pursue BS charges against a former president than addressing the crime problem in Manhattan, when he's basically downgraded over 50% of all felonies to misdemeanors. So you want to, maybe when you think about going into some of the bad parts of New York City that even were still patrolled by police or those crimes were prosecuted, don't bother. Alvin Bragg isn't interested, and neither are Democrats at the national level, especially Joe Biden. Of course, Biden needs to outline a robust plan to address the root causes of crime and improve public safety. Well, yeah, how about allowing and making sure that Americans can arm themselves? Whether it's the emperor here in New Jersey, right, that's making it even more difficult for New Jerseyans to arm themselves and protect their homes, Joe Biden's no different, folks, and that's what Democrats at the national level want you. They want you dependent on government, not independent from it. And of course, diminished, as we mentioned before, diminished purchasing power. Many Americans are struggling to make ends meet, with some needing more than 2 full-time jobs to pay their bills, to either buy groceries, pay their rent, and provide for their families. Also, age concerns. At the age of 86, by the end of a potential second term, President Biden has to address this. He's an old man. And I'm not trying to be ageist here, but the guy doesn't even know where he's standing. Did you see him during the Easter press conference? He didn't know the difference between Easter egg and eggnog. I mean, that's embarrassing. It looks embarrassing to the rest of the world. But of course, the liberal media won't ever call him out on it. But the minute that President Trump had one verbal snafu, they were on it like white on rice. Okay? And it's even here, statewide media, they don't care either. But we should. This is a cognitively declining president, and we should be concerned about that. We should be electing someone younger. I'm not saying President Trump, he's only a couple years younger than Joe Biden, but let's think about getting younger and not older when it comes to the chief executive of the United States. Of course, Julio finishes the column by saying, considering these significant challenges, the question remains, can President Biden regain the trust of the American people despite the adversity the nation has faced during his tenure? By acknowledging these issues and taking decisive actions to address them, Biden has the opportunity to showcase his leadership and commitment to the nation. However, whether his efforts will be enough to secure the confidence of the majority of Americans in his bid for re-election remains to be seen. Once again, wonderful column by Julio Reynoso, really outlining the serious problems that Joe Biden has. And again, folks, I'm not going to go for the low-hanging fruit here. I'm not going to go for personal insults about why you would still want to vote for this guy, okay? I'm not going to go with we need to seriously question your intelligence. I'm not going to go there. What I'm going to say is I need to question your understanding of what's good policy, okay? Not drilling domestically. Gas prices are on the rise, folks, okay? I personally don't care about a platypus or otters or beavers in the Arctic. Drill, 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 right? Drill, baby, drill. Drill for every ounce of petroleum you can on American soil, whether it be in Alaska or in other parts of the country. Make ourselves energy independent again. All right? That's what happened under President Trump, and that's what tends to happen under Republican presidencies. Yes, I care about the environment, but if we're drilling in the Arctic, who cares? Listen, if you care about otters and possums and whatever other Arctic wildlife could be in danger from being drilled, you know what? Then go create a sanctuary in your backyard and bring all these animals to your home. But as far as paying for lower gas to fuel my car and to heat my home, that's what I care about. I care about lower prices. I care about making sure that my dollar can be stretched as much as possible. We're not seeing that with this president, okay? So whether it's bad economic policy, acquiescence to all this woke nonsense, right? This ridiculous notion of having certain LGBT cabinet members, men masquerading as women, which is a farce, okay? Sort of not being able to even identify what a woman is. Have you noticed that Democrats at the national level can't even answer a basic question? What is a woman? I can answer that. And I took high school biology at Memorial High School with one of the greatest biology teachers, God rest his soul, Louis Marchesani. I took anatomy and physiology with him. And I learned biology pretty well. And you know what? I think I get to know how to identify what a woman is. Very simply, folks, it's an adult human female. Why Joe Biden and Democrats can't answer that simple question remains to be seen. But again, I don't even want to go into the woke nonsense. Let's just go with the fact that he's made a mess of this country and he's been an unmitigated disaster. You can't give him another 4 years, folks. And if you can give me an argument that's not emotionally driven, but more logically driven, I'm all ears. But here's a spoiler, folks. For a lot of people in Hudson County, especially those that are on the left and far left progressives, you can't give me one. And again, that's why Joe Biden does not deserve another 4 years. And that's what I'm thinking about right now. And now some local news for your consideration. And a special thank you to the Jersey Journal, and more specifically, of course, Mark Cuso for his exceptional reporting on this story. Now, apparently to help dig itself out of a $10.9 million deficit, the financially strained New Jersey City University is considering hiking tuition fees by as much as 3% for the upcoming academic year. While the increase would ease the shortfall, officials say the amount of extra revenue depends on the fall enrollment, inflation, and of course, labor cost increases. Well, of course, folks keep voting Democrat at the national level and at the state level, and that's what you're going to get, right? Whether it be for the gubernatorial races or for the presidential races. Interim school president Andres Acebo is, quote, not inclined to recommend the options laid out by the school's chief financial officer, Ben Durant, according to a university spokesman. Quote, the recovery and deficit reduction cannot be borne exclusively by our students. The university's Board of Trustees will hold a public hearing on proposals this week at the Gilligan Student Union building. Now, a final decision will not come until June, when the fees are voted on alongside the next fiscal year budget. Under the proposed changes, the annual in-state undergraduate tuition would rise from $402, right, from $13,384 to $13,786 on average. Out-of-state undergraduates would see an increase of $720, Jesus Christ, from $73,982 to $24,702 on average. Per credit fees for graduate students would rise from $798 to $822 for in-state students, and from $1,272 to $1,310 for out-of-state students. Other potential fee increases would be also applied to nursing programs, doctoral programs, housing, and meal plans. The university has been seeking solutions to its financial emergency since last June. The school reduced the 2022-2023 deficit from $22 million to $10.9 million with an austerity plan that included layoffs and the elimination of academic and certain sports programs. Now, school officials have also asked state officials for more funding. If NJCU receives an additional state aid above the $27.9 million allotted in the proposed state budget, there would be less need for tuition increases, according to spokesman Ira Thor. Now, school officials have blamed declining enrollment and reductions in state aid as reasons for its crisis, but aggressive expansion plans and real estate investments also played a role. Now, former University President Sue Henderson, the driving force behind the decision to expand the school's footprint, resigned the same day the board announced the financial emergency last June. Now, the State Comptroller's Office is investigating the school's finances related to Henderson's 10 years at the university. Well, folks, let me just say this. I mean, I think that there's a lot of things wrong with NJCU. Number one, they should have never become a university. And I get it, you get a little ambitious, but this is what happens, ladies and gentlemen, when you start punching above your weight. And for all you boxing fans, I think you'll understand what that sort of correlation means. They should have remained a college. But you get a little too ambitious, you get a little too giddy about, oh, we might get more state aid, and this is what happens. Okay, it's a small school in not the best area of Hudson County. Now, again, I have gone to NJCU to give speeches, to attend events. It's not in the best part of town, folks. Again, yeah, you can park on sort of the campus premises per se, but if you cannot have to park off campus and just walk a couple of blocks, folks, it's a dump. And not to mention, too, NJCU has also fallen prey to the same woke nonsense that a lot of these other colleges and universities have fallen prey to at a state level. Okay? Now, I understand you want to have a dean of inclusion. Great. Make sure that that dean, for example, handles all of the, I guess, social justice nonsense that colleges and universities like to acquiesce to. But when you start having, a dean of inclusion, a dean of acceptance, a dean of diversity, a dean of, LGBTQ plus minus whatever awareness or support. This is what happens, folks. You start acquiescing to social justice nonsense, and you start bloating the bureaucracy at a college and university. Yeah, that might work in my alma mater, Rutgers, right, where they still get a lot of state funding and a lot of alumnus to donate to the university. That's not the case with NJCU. It's a small school. And while they have a lot of great programs, again, I don't want to defecate all over them, okay? But let's be honest. they continue to punch above their weight. So again, I give the school credit for trying to crawl out of its financial hole, but it was put there for a reason by irresponsible leadership. Now, we'll see again in terms of what President Acebo is going to be doing with this sort of new layout. And again, going from this $10.9 million deficit, where it was once 22, I think is very admirable. But a lot of work remains, folks, at NJCU. I would seriously consider maybe downgrading it back to a college. It doesn't need to be a university anymore. It really doesn't. It doesn't have the programs, it doesn't have the facilities, and it doesn't have this, I guess, the real estate, as they say, to be a university. Let's stop punching above our weight. Let's stop being, again, all giddy about, making sure that we increase, and have all these departments. And now we have the School of Social Justice, or all these other woke nonsense that sometimes colleges and universities fall into. And when you fall into that trap, and you want to teach these nonsensical curriculums, for example, especially in higher learning, this is what's going to happen, okay? Downgrade back to a college, cut more programs, and cut more administrators, okay? Yes, we need deans, but we don't need an assistant dean, an assistant to the assistant. We don't need a secretary to the assistant to the assistant. Again, cut all that BS out. Have one dean for student life or student affairs or whatever have you, but stop having all of this woke nonsense that permeates in all these colleges, okay? Cut where you need to cut, okay? Obviously, certain athletic programs, that might be sort of, a casualty. But when it comes to like music, the arts, keep them. They're important. They keep our students engaged. Same thing with the natural sciences and also some of the humanities, and specifically in the social sciences. But again, folks, get back to just becoming a college. Go back to being Jersey State College or New Jersey City College or whatever. But stop being a university, folks. It's not going to work there in Hudson County's largest city. Let's move on to Hoboken. And once again, thank you to Mark Husau from the Jersey Journal for his report on this very important story. And it seems like rats are becoming a problem in the Mile Square City. So, of course, whether it's about flooding, parking, or exorbitant rents, Hoboken apparently has a new enemy for all its residents, and that's the ever-flowing supply of rats. Now, the prevalence of these tiny and not so tiny vermin have joined the long-standing issues that, again, continue to permeate within the Mile Square City, as the city is indeed stepping up efforts to eradicate the health and, of course, the quality of life nuisance that are rats throughout the entire city. Whether it's local officials, residents, or even social media influencers, it seems like everyone in Hoboken has a story about the nocturnal creatures. For example, Councilman Jen Giattino said, quote, "I've lived in Hoboken for 25 years and have never seen a rat, and now I see them." Of course, rat infestation continues to be the number one problem that her constituents continue to bring to her attention. I was never something someone would call me about and say, "I saw rats in my backyard this morning." That was never an issue, but now I get these calls all the time. Now, former city council candidate Paul Prisanano said he was working late and saw a rat pop out from bags of garbage on the street and even saw rats chew through a garbage bag. Quote, "I've tried to use several things to capture these rats, and they're very smart." Now, social media sites like Twitter, for example, have painted a rat population as closer to being out of control than under control, of course, across the river in New York City and now in the city of Hoboken. Tales of rat corpses, rat feedings on garage bags, and even rat tunnels. Just got off the PATH train and into a cab and almost stepped on a big dead rat, according to one Twitter user. Now, before the start of COVID, I had never seen a rat or a mouse in Hoboken, according to some Twitter users that recently were spotted for the article. Now many streets with patches of dirt are covered in rat holes. As the city searches for its Pied Piper, for example, there are multiple reasons that the rat population sightings have increased over the past few years. For example, during the pandemic, rodents had to find new sources of food when restaurants and food establishments were closed, according to data compiled by the CDC, the Center of Disease Control. Similarly, city officials said the rat population surge can be traced back to the increase in outdoor dining and then a return to pre-pandemic routines. Along with rapid breeding, overcrowding, and interruptions such as floods and constructions in sewers, more rodents are indeed going topside instead of remaining underground. The city's latest extermination strategies include putting bait mixtures in sewers and vegetated areas and partnering with utility companies and private contractors for rodent control, according to Hoboken City spokeswoman Marilyn Baer. Now, the local health department also inspects reports of rodent activity and cites property owners for sanitation violations. The city is also contracted with the Union City-based Paramount Exterminating to provide weekly service. Others believe in the city that's known for its dining scene that rats, again, and the problem can be solved by first getting the city's garbage under control. Now, the Hoboken Business Alliance, the HBA, is contributing to the war on rats with a pilot program called City Bin to provide closed trash bins for businesses and reduce the ability for rats to have access to any unused and uneaten food. According to HBA Executive Director Roxanne Early, quote, "We've been working very closely in partnership with the city and for the Carter to pick it up so trash doesn't hit the street and there's no open trash. Now, to get rid of the rodents once and for all, Councilwoman, once again, Jen Giattino, said that the city should spend more money on the problem, while Presidano has said that a community-wide effort is required in order to be able to do so. Certainly, residents can report any rat sightings to the City of Hoboken's Health Department at 201-421-2375. Once again, at 201-420-2375. And of course, they can submit a complaint via the city's SDL portal, again at www.hoboken.gov. And folks, I can't say enough. I visit Hoboken quite frequently during Sunday Fun Day. I never really saw as many rats as I've seen lately, especially with outdoor dining. The weather's getting a little bit better. Of course, we all know that once it does, Pier 13 will be open, as well as other outdoor activities. And folks, again, just like New York City, we learned after the pandemic, with a shortage of food, rats need to find it elsewhere. So they're going to breed and breed and breed, and that's what we're seeing. Now, whether or not they're sort of traveling back and forth between the cities via the path tunnels or other underground tunnels remains to be seen. Who knows? They could even be swimming across the river for all I know. But again, ladies and gentlemen, it's a serious problem, and I applaud the city of Hoboken for trying to solve it. But you know what? With the way that they breed, and it's true, rats have become a hell of a lot more smarter, and folks, they've become a lot more aggressive. And that's something we have to sort of contend with when it comes to dealing with the rodent problem, not just in the Mile Square City, but any municipality in Hudson County. And that's our show for this week. Once again, to check out the leader in independent media right here in Hudson County, check out their websites by going to www.hmgtvshows.com as well as www.livestream.com/hmgtv. Don't forget to like the Hudson Media Group on Facebook and, of course, follow them on both Instagram and Twitter. Check out my own Instagram and Twitter, ladies and gentlemen, at the Fernando Zone. And certainly make sure you like Talking Politics with Fernando Uribe on Facebook and, of course, follow it on Instagram as well. And as a reminder, ladies and gentlemen, new episodes of the 7-time award-winning podcast, Talking the Hudson, will resume in early May by going to blogtalkradio.com/talkingthehudson. Recent episodes are there and available to download from any PC, Mac, smartphone, or tablet, and you can take it anywhere at any time, whether you're walking your dog, maybe going to the gym, I don't know, maybe taking out the garbage, going for a power walk. Hey, I'm sure you have your smartphone on you and your headphones or your AirPods. Well, guess what? Download the episodes and listen to Talking the Hudson anywhere at any time, as well as listening to Talking Politics with Fernando Uribe right here with the Hudson Media Group. And folks, I cannot just say enough how grateful I am to all of you, as of course this month we celebrate 4 years with the Hudson Media Group. And I cannot say enough about how grateful I am to Pat O'Melia, the owner and executive producer here at the Hudson Media Group. I'm so thankful for his faith in my abilities, for just an amazing working relationship that we've had for 4 years now and counting. And again, this is why I work so hard for him, giving me that shot. And I've made sure to reciprocate that by giving you excellent traffic, interesting views, and of course, very, very outspoken content every single week here via the Hudson Media Group. So to Pat O'Melia and all the great staff here in production at HMG, let me tell you something. Love you all, and I really, really appreciate all of your efforts. And once again, ladies and gentlemen, if it's unbiased, unfiltered, and unafraid, it's always Talking Politics right here with the Hudson Media Group. I am New Jersey's premier award-winning journalist, Top 100 Latino via the Latino Spirit online magazine, the weapon of mass disruption in Garden State media, and without a doubt, the people's choice and the people's voice. Yes, it's me, Fernando Uribe, folks, saying so long, and as always, thank you so much for watching.